Welcome, everyone. I'm Susan Hope Bard with TechSoup, and I'm pleased to bring you today's webinar, Driving Action with Video, Storytelling Production Tips with DoSomething.org. You are in for a treat today. We have Carrie Goff, the Creative Director and Producer at Do Something, to present this. Actually, it's a pretty powerful and compelling presentation. There are a couple of videos. We've got some polling questions. You get to participate. At the end of the event, we're also going to be talking a little bit about our Storymakers campaign. The reason we're having this series of webinars is all about Storymakers, and I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the event. Before we actually get to the event, I want to explain a little bit about the platform we're using. We're using ReadyTalk. The chat box on the far left side of your screen is where you want to put all your questions. You don't need to raise your hands, just chat your questions in. If it's a tech problem, you can't hear, the visuals aren't matching, something's going wrong, chat in and let us know. All the lines are muted so we get a good clear recording. If you get disconnected, please just reconnect using the link that was emailed to you in your confirmation email or either of the 2 reminder emails that were sent to you. You can find all our upcoming and past webinars on our website. You will receive an email with this presentation, the PowerPoint presentation, a link to the recording, and any resources that Carrie mentions today later on this afternoon or this evening. So you can watch the recording again and again, and you'd also be able to download the PowerPoint. I did attach the PowerPoint to the last reminder email that was sent out. It kind of is down a little bit on the right side of the reminder email. I've circled it in red. That's where you can find the PowerPoint. It is simply a link, so then you will have to download it. Same thing with the follow-up email. It'll look like this, and there'll be a recording title, and then there'll be downloadable files. Just a quick reminder that ReadyTalk, all the audio should come through your computer speakers. If you don't have computer speakers or they're just not working, please call in using the phone number that Lewis has chatted out. You can also tweet us at TechSoup or hashtag TSWebinars. So what I'd like to do now is tell you that TechSoup is a 501c3 nonprofit like many of you today. Also, a special welcome to all of our library friends out there because TechSoup serves libraries as well. We are located in beautiful San Francisco, California, and some of you are already chatting in where you're from because you've been to these before. Thank you so much. Go ahead, show us you know how to use the chat box. Chat in your city, state, or if you're from another country. You don't need to raise your hand to ask questions. Simply go ahead and chat in any challenges you're having. All right, great. I see people from all over the world. We've got folks from Canada, Kentucky, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, Texas, Oregon. All right, great, fabulous. Welcome to everyone. As I mentioned, our speaker today is Carrie Goff. She's put together an amazing presentation. I will be turning it over to her in 1 minute, but before we do that, I want to thank Louis Height for helping with coordinate the Storymakers campaign and event, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Thanks, Susan, and also thank you, Carrie, for joining. Yeah, I just wanted to welcome everyone, encourage you to check out our Storymakers contest page. We have the link in the chat box. Submit your videos and photos. The campaign has basically 1 more month. We go through the end of October, and let's get started with Carrie. I'm excited to hear today's presentation.
Thanks so much, Louis. And a quick poll question for everybody about Storymakers and how many digital stories that you've done in the past. So I'm going to start with a poll question. How many digital stories have you created? Never, but you want to. Maybe you've done 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 24, or 25 or more. And most of the people here, Louis, they obviously have been here before. Look at how the answers are just ringing in. All right, I'm going to give everyone 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Let's take a look at those results, Carrie. Wow, we have a lot of people here that haven't ever created digital stories. So welcome, everyone. I am ready to turn this over to Carrie, and she's going to start her formal presentation. Lewis and I will be helping you on the back end in chat. Carrie, take it away.
Hi everyone, my name is Carrie Goff and I'm the Creative Director at DoSomething.org. Today, just let me know if you have any questions. If I can't answer any of them today, feel free to follow up. I have my email at the very end and I will do my best to assist. And also shout out to, I think it was Brad Morris from Rock Hill, South Carolina. I am from Charleston, so welcome. So the agenda for today, we're going to cover what DoSomething.org is, what makes a good story, defining your toolkit, and bringing it all together. So the different phases of production. So what is DoSomething.org? DoSomething is the largest tech platform focused exclusively on young people and social change. We have about 5.5 million members all over the world and in every single zip code in the U.S. And our target demographic is 13 to 25-year-olds. And I'm about to switch to a video that kind of explains why we work with this demographic. Okay, so as you can see, young people are pretty incredible and do lots of amazing things. So DoSomething.org, we consider ourselves cause agnostic, and that means we aren't focused on one specific cause. Like some nonprofits only focus on access to water. Some people only focus on education, but what we focus on, our specific cause, is young people. So we understand about young people that they care about everything. One day they can care about animal rights, the next day they can care about pollution and the environment. So we like to offer actions that young people can take based around all these different cause areas so that they can take action in their communities and really have that autonomy to make change on their own. So that's why we have approximately 275 plus campaigns live on site at all times so that they can come to our site, pick an action they want to do, and actually do something in their communities. So something I like to say is we are all content creators. We are constantly, in this day and age, creating content, taking photos, writing out captions. So like every single piece of content we make, is being recorded, and we are keeping it, in our phones, on our computers, on our social platforms. And we are also all storytellers, believe it or not. A lot of people, say, well, I'm not a creative person, or I don't think I'm creative, but we are all creative in our own way, and I think everyone should embrace that. You don't have to be on a creative team. You don't have to be a creative director to be creative. So how do we make our stories great? So what we're going to go into first is what makes a good story. So 3 things that my team always focuses on here is evoking emotion. And we say, if it doesn't make you happy, mad, or sad, why would anyone share it? Why would anyone watch it? Who wants to see this? So we make sure that any piece of content that we create are hitting at least one of these 3 emotions. Then, why does this piece of content give the audience a reason to care? So why should people stop to consume your content in a feed filled with content from other brands, other nonprofits, other friends and family members that they follow? And then good stories make people want to be part of something bigger. So does the viewer feel like they are part of a community? And something we focus on a lot here at Do Something is making sure that our young people know that they're not alone and that they are part of this huge community of 5.5 million people doing the same action in their community. So some 14-year-old girl in Houston, Texas can feel connected to, this 16-year-old boy in Los Angeles who are doing the exact same action, and it's pretty powerful. And then, is your piece of content relevant to the time, platform, and audience? So we really believe that it's important to be able to pivot your content based on these 3 touch points. So basically, is it relevant in terms of time of year or what's going on in current events? We often see that if we have scheduled content that's supposed to go out and something, tragic happens in the world, we make sure that we have a touch point on current events and we know when to release content and when not to. Another thing is platform, which I will get into later in the presentation, but it's really important to know that there are different demographics and different uses for all different types of platforms. So one piece of content, one video might perform really well on, say, YouTube, but wouldn't perform well on Instagram. And then audience, which I also get into later, it's really important to be authentic to the people you are presenting your content to. So some content might resonate with a 40-year-old, but might not resonate with a 15-year-old. So these are all things to keep in mind. So we're also going to talk about what content, how we cover the what, why, who, and how of what makes a good story. So the what is, there's a few questions. What is the topic we are addressing? What is the problem we are trying to solve? Or what is the unique story we can tell? What is our unique value add to this cause space? Then we have the why. Why is this topic important, and why should your audience care about what you're saying? And then, like we'll get into later, who is your target audience, and also who is your secondary audience. You can have a primary goal and a secondary goal, and that can touch 2 different types of audiences. So be aware that you might have a secondary audience that you're not thinking of. And then the how do viewers help you achieve your goal, and how can the viewers solve the problem? Now we're going to get into story structure, which seems pretty basic, but is really important to keep in mind. So the beginning of any video that we create at Do Something starts by addressing the issue. So it could be landfills are filled with recyclable items. It could be discrimination in schools lead to opening up the school-to-prison pipeline for young people of color. Then the middle of your story expands the understanding. So you're really trying to, convince the persuadable and also the people that are already bought into your idea that what you're saying is right and that they should join whatever action you're trying to get them to do. And then the end gives a specific call to action. So one of my personal and professional biggest pet peeves is an example like this, where a lot of video content you see online encourages you to share a video. So this example is from Attention. I love Attention. But a lot of their video content ends with share this video if you agree, or share this video if you think X, Y, Z. And we really see that that's, really benefiting metrics, but not necessarily driving to impact or action. So what we like to do at Do Something is end videos with a specific call to action. So giving young people a very specific way to get involved or learn more. This way, people can text in or go to a website and get more information about how they can take action specifically and directly in their community. So this next section is all about your audience and your demographic, and I believe we have a polling question for you all.
We do. I've put in a polling question here to just get an idea. You can choose multiple. You guys are already filling it out. All right, what are the target age demographics that you work with? And you can choose a variety of these, and I see everybody's already just charging in. Excellent. Excellent. Do you serve children and youth? 12 to 17 years of age, 18 to 24, 25 to 34, sorry, it's a lot of numbers, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, 55 to 64, over 65, or you're not really sure. It could be all of these. So I'm going to give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.5, 1. Let's go ahead and skip to those results, Carrie. Interesting. Interesting results. So a lot of people are serving that 25 to 44 year age range for demographics. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Thank you all for chiming in. Yeah, I see that it's a lot of 18 to 54, which is a huge range. But I'm going to talk today about what I know, and that specifically is young people. So this is our target demographic, and these are actually this is a picture of our lovely summer interns that just finished up this past summer in New York City. So 80% of the time, Do Something is specifically serving young people and the type of content that we are creating. So a few content trends I have listed here for you about young people, and that is specifically the 13 to 25 demographic that we serve. They really enjoy short, bite-sized content. So this is 10 to 30-second videos, and actually it's expanded, as I've seen over the past year, where they're a bit finicky, where they like really short or they like long form, but nothing in between. So I highly recommend the 10 to 30, sometimes the minute, or going deeper into a storytelling that is 4 to 7 minutes long. Another note is a 3-second win. And this is something that we talk about a lot here at Do Something. So the way young people are consuming content is they're constantly on their phones, constantly scrolling through feeds. So basically, within 3 seconds, how do I grab this person? How do I make them want to stay and consume the content that I've created for them? And then another thing we talk about here is that young people have BS detectors, and they have been trained, all while growing up, what is real and what is not, what is an ad and what is organic content, so they can really see through a lot of the marketing decisions that you're making for your content. So that's why we always talk about being super authentic and relevant to our audience. Another thing is they really prefer online influencers versus traditional celebs. So they grew up with YouTube. They grew up with these personalities, and they prefer them to, someone they would see on a TV show or in a movie. They prefer, kind of that underdog story where like people started from the bottom and, built their way to their success using platforms that young people are familiar with. So that's a lot of YouTubers currently. And then, the trend why we're all here today is video content. And then also, I put specifically Instagram stories and Snapchat in terms of building bite-sized content in story form. I see a question from Sarah Erner. She asks, what do you find most challenging about communicating with young people about broad social change subjects? So my answer to that is kind of what I talked about before, is the fact that on a daily basis, their thoughts, their opinions, their ideas are changing. They're still growing up, they're still evolving, and we have to always be 10 steps ahead. We also talk about having a pulse on our demographic and making sure we are doing the right research and understanding what they are into, what they're not into. So we really try to make sure that we always have a touch point, and usually that's through member surveys, through general population surveys, and also just talking to our interns that we have in-house on a regular basis. And sometimes people have younger siblings or cousins, so we are always making sure that we know what is going on in a young person's life and not assuming. Also, I think apathy is another challenge that we face with the younger generation, so Gen Z and the lower end of millennials, where you kind of have to break through all of this noise to get to them. And then once you get to them, you have to convince them that, being a good person, taking action in your community is worthwhile, and it's something that is necessary to be a contributing member to society. So I have another section for insights, and Kim Jackson, I see you have questions about content trends, and I listed a source at the bottom of this slide. We have a partner at Defy Media, and they release these Acumen reports that have a lot of insight specifically about 13 to 24-year-olds, how they consume content, and also how they consume content involving ads and sponsored posts. So here are a few from the Defy Acumen that I found really interesting. So the first one is 62% of young people say that online video makes them feel good about themselves, and only 40% say that about television. And my personal insight there would be the fact that there's a humanizing aspect to online video with the personalities of the influencers that they are consuming content from, versus television. It doesn't quite feel like that content was specifically made for me, made for that young person. Another thing here is 62% say they would try a product or brand recommended by a YouTuber, and only 47% say this about TV and movie stars. So that's another thing. It's like versus seeing an ad on television where it feels like this fake model was hired to hold this product or have this product, put on her face or through her hair or whatnot. It's really, my friend, this person I follow that I feel like I have a personal connection with trying this product. So there's a level of trust there that isn't quite there with, anyone that you say like in television or movies. Another piece here is 80% of youth believe ads are a regular part of life, which is really interesting because I know being in the mid-range of millennial and then older, ads are pretty annoying. But the way that ads are integrated into content creation now is really interesting because it's done in a more organic way where you can see that it's an ad, you can see that it's a product placement, but it's not quite getting in your way like a lot of advertisements do on traditional media like broadcast. And then the final thing here is 69% believe brands stand up for what they believe in, even if controversial. And I feel this really is empowering because a lot of brands, a lot of nonprofits get scared about what people are going to think of them if they do, stand up for issues, stand up for, current events. People are scared of backlash. But that's another thing, going back to authenticity, that's really important. Young people really want to know that their opinions are being heard and the brands that they consume are also standing up for themselves and causes that they care about. So I found this really important, but the source is listed at the bottom, and I really highly recommend that people go, and I think there's 4 reports there that will address a lot of your questions. And I see a question from Bob Reege. I could be saying your last name incorrectly, and I apologize. He asked, how do we find out who are the currently popular online influencers, and how do we approach them to adopt our cause? So there's a lot of useful tools. Like TubeFilter is a website that we frequently use. There's also a service called Celebrity Insider. Actually, I'm not sure of that name, but we have a lot of tools that we use to really target these up-and-coming influencers. We also do just a lot of on-the-ground research by Googling, celebrities that care about X cause, or we do a lot of, video watching on YouTube to figure out who would be interested in the cause that we care about. And then we try to dig a little deeper, reach out to the contacts that we have. We have a wonderful PR and talent relations guy here who has a lot of contacts just from his experience in the industry, who reaches out. So it can be a bit tough breaking that shell of really trying to get to them. But I would say going through staff directories, trying to find managers' emails, and reaching out to them and just saying, I have this nonprofit. We are about this cause. We see that, this person you manage also cares about this cause. Would they be interested in helping us, speak out and use their platforms around our cause or our campaigns? So I'm going to go into the other part of our demographic, and that is old people. And mind you, old people, I put in quotes here, for us at Do Something, is anyone above the age of 25. So that includes me. That probably includes a large majority of everyone listening to this. And we usually utilize content for old people in terms of fundraising, sponsorships, partnerships, getting funding, and then, for our events, our annual events, like a gala or a summit. So content trends for quote-unquote old people are long-form video content. So we tend to see that attention spans are pretty large for, the older demographic. They can sit and they can consume more content at a time. So you have a bigger window to tell your story with these individuals. They also prefer traditional celebs. I know a lot of people in our office, we will lock an influencer, announce the name, and the first question is, who is that? So it's pretty funny, but we know that, it doesn't matter if we know the influencer or not, that it's young people that we care about. And then traditional platforms like broadcast media, print media, Facebook, and Twitter. We see that Facebook and Twitter have more of a are platforms that lend themselves to conversation versus just consuming or liking and passing on. So now we are going to go into goal setting. And I believe, Susan, there is a polling question here.
Thanks so much, Carrie. As we were all chatting back and forth, I love when you talked about your target demographic. Thank you for lightening it up. I like that. Okay, so out of the following, which would you say is the primary goal of your organization in regards to video content? Is your primary goal spreading awareness, getting donations, creating measurable impact, or impressions and engagement? So I'll go ahead and give you, this is one choice only because it's primary goal. So go ahead and just pick one. Pick the one that best fits your org. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to skip to the results. You can still log in and give us your feedback. We almost have 100% of folks answering, so that's great. All right. Look at those responses. Awareness.
Yeah, I am still looking through the responses. So it looks like spreading awareness, getting donations, and impressions and engagement, which is interesting because Do Something tends to focus on the creating measurable impact piece, but I can definitely talk to all 4 of these. So spreading awareness, you know, I know that a lot of you are nonprofits and churches and libraries, and you want people to hear your story and want people to consume the content that you're creating. So it is always okay to tell a story of what you're doing, and then I always suggest, like you said before, ending with a call to action. So it's always, you know, cool to make a video about, you know, a hard-hitting topic. So you can pick anything like we do so many things here. I'm trying to think. So there's a lack of people of color registered on the bone marrow registry, and that means that, you know, the people that are waiting for that transplant, the bone marrow transplant, who are people of color, are waiting longer than white and Hispanic individuals because there's a lack of those people on the registry to begin with. So we have a campaign called Give a Spit About Cancer, and we educate people. We spread awareness about the problem, but we make sure at the end of the day to always offer this call to action. So getting people registered, holding parties at your school or at your church or on your college campus to make sure that we are actually driving to get that measurable impact piece. Another thing is getting donations. So what our CMO likes to say is "Make America Cry Again." It's one of her taglines. And it is really making sure to target the emotions that we talked about earlier to make people really feel for you, feel for your org, feel for the people that you serve. And then if you get those emotions, so does it make me happy, mad, or sad? If you get those emotions, people are more likely to give donations. We also see that when we feature our target demographics, so our young people, our members, it's really letting the donors know that this is directly where your money is going, and it encourages them to actually give to those young people versus just Do Something. Because Do Something is great, but the young people we serve are even better. And then back to that measurable impact. This is where all of our content at Do Something usually ends up in terms of the content we're creating for young people. And we really believe that if we educate them about the issue, tell them how they specifically can help, encourage them through our communication, and then celebrate them after they've done the action. We see that leads to higher recording of actual impact made. And then the last thing is impression engagement. And I know a lot of people are interested in this, and something that we always say here and is known across the industry is that shares are way more valuable than likes. We talk a lot about this thing called social confidence. And, if a young person likes a video, that is really awesome. Thank you for that engagement. But if a young person shares a video, it's really, inspiring, because that means that they are confident enough to show someone else, to show their friends, to show their family that they also support this cause, they also support this campaign, and they're not scared of it. So going into what's in your digital storytelling toolkit, and I know in the session description I talked about lo-fi and hi-fi, low-cost and high-cost options. And the beautiful thing about Do Something in our creative team is that we were very, very scrappy. There's only 3 of us, and we focus on all design, photo, and video that is going out of house. So we've gotten used to, over the past 2 years, trying different techniques, different types of setups to really make our content succeed. And it's honestly different each time, and I will go into that. So the first thing that I have here is platforms. So we utilize all of these platforms, but for short-form content, it's usually Instagram and Instagram Stories, Snapchat, and Facebook. And then long-form content is our YouTube channel, Vimeo. I know Vimeo has a lot more polished and high-quality content on there, and then also Facebook. So Facebook, goes through the range of short-form and long-form. A sample of some of the short-form content that we are creating specifically on Instagram Stories is 3 different things that we have been doing recently. So one, we have been doing rapid response. So if anything breaking happens in the world, so samples that we've done over the past few weeks is response to Hurricane Harvey, response to the DACA decision. We have used Instagram Stories to really, elevate our content in this bite-sized way. Another thing that we've done is bringing in these influencers, and the guy on the left is a musician. His name is Quinn92. He's an up-and-coming artist. So we have a bunch of up-and-coming artists come through the office, and we do a Meet the Artist series where we ask them 5 questions. It's usually fun questions like, where are you from? What is your favorite food? And then they can plug like an upcoming tour or an upcoming album release. And then what's great, and this is going back to the influencer stuff we were talking about earlier, is they will then on their platform or their channel tag us to go watch their takeover on our channel. So it's mutually beneficial. We get their audience coming to our channel, and we usually see a lot of engagement from them, likes and follows. Another thing we do to humanize our staff, as you can see in the center and the far right, is just meeting the staff. So a lot of young people just think like all of this stuff happens in the background, and they don't know that there's actually real people texting them, emailing them, doing customer support, running these social channels. So we love to humanize the staff, and that's what we do on our Instagram Stories as well. So we have staff members, introduce themselves, say what their title is, and also, the fun questions, get to know you questions, where are you from, what's your favorite emoji, what's the last song you listened to. So we found that there's a lot of really good engagement on that type of content. So I wanted to go into the gear that we use at Do Something, and it really varies. So for cameras, we usually, for those Instagram stories, just use my personal iPhone. My phone is dreading it because of the lack of data and all of that. Whenever we're shooting photo and most in-house video, we use the Canon 5D Mark III, which is a really great DSLR, has a wide variety of uses and has a lot of features that we find really helpful. And then in our larger shoots, we have tended to use Canon C300s and Sony FS7s. For audio, we have a pretty typical setup. We use wireless lavalier mics, and you can also get lavalier mics that plug right into your phone, so you can record audio, just audio, or have better quality audio for the videos you're recording on your phone. And then we have a boom mic that helps in tandem with the lavalier mic record a wide range of your audio than just directional. But if you're looking for a directional mic, say you're only recording audio or doing a podcast, you can get a Yeti mic, which we have in the office that we use for a lot of our voiceover work. And for backgrounds, we have a lot of seamless color rolls, and a lot of media companies, so like a Teen Vogue, a BuzzFeed, will have a ton of these seamless rolls set up. That way they can jump in and out with different colors for different types of content that they want to create. A cyc wall or a cyclorama wall you'll usually find in studios, and it's the curved white wall that runs floor to ceiling, so that you have no harsh cuts in the background between the floor and the wall. And then, there's the natural backgrounds in the office. We often shoot just in the open, because it's an open office. There's just a bunch of desks and open space. No one has their own office. We also tend to do treatments and sets in conference rooms. So at one moment it will look like a conference room, and the next moment it will look like a couch in someone's home. So we have a lot of flexibility within our own office to shoot content. And then there's just your good old outdoors. In terms of lighting, and I will show pictures of these different setups in one moment. In terms of lighting, we use a ring light when we are shooting on our phone. It's really great for one subject and shooting someone that's pretty close to the camera. We also have KinoFlow Diva lights, and then also love the RE Sky Panel LED. We recently shot with this weekend, and you can program it to be any color you can imagine. You can also, there's also programmed functions in it to, mimic a police car or a fire. So it's a pretty dynamic piece of gear. And then just want to talk about low-cost and high-cost setups, because like I said, we run the gamut of both. So low-cost setup, we actually use my iPhone, a tripod with a phone attachment, a ring light, wireless lavalier mics, and then a seamless background. And then high-cost, we use video camera, so Canon C300 usually, a full set with gear and crew, and a cyc wall. So examples of this, this is our in-house quote-unquote studio. It actually used to be a gym. There was a treadmill, elliptical, a weight set, and as you can see at the top left, there was still a pull-up bar. So we really fought for the space to change into a creative studio because we saw the need for content we saw that we were behind in content creation in terms of the industry and how media was going a year ago. So we decided to take it over. And as you can see, we have this seamless rig in the background. We actually bought the whole rig off of Amazon. If any of you want to message me after, I can definitely send the link to it. It has saved so much time and setup because if you can see, we have a blue, purple, and yellow seamless up there. And we used to have to manually trade them in and out every time we wanted to change up the background, but now it takes less than 10 seconds to say, okay, I don't like you on blue, I'm going to switch it to yellow. So it's a really helpful tool to have. And then you can see there what I was talking about with the tripod, with the phone stand. We have 2 backlights, the KinoFlow Divas, and the ring light. And we usually have the subject sitting on one of our bar stools in the kitchen. So this is a very, very low cost solution. You know, this is great for starter content. This is great for the bite-sized content that we were talking about earlier. It's just really exciting because it also allows you to pivot and be very flexible. So if something happens in the world, we can easily and quickly respond to it. And I think that's, you know, that's a great benefit of having a low-cost setup like this. And then we have a high-cost setup. This is what we do for a lot of our influencer videos that are usually attached to sponsored campaigns. We have a little bit more money to give to production. So as you can see in the background, we have the white cyc wall, and you can see there's no crease between. We have our talent, audio guy, then we have all of our lights, and then our crew. So it's definitely a larger and more expensive setup. Just depends on the time you have and the quality of the products that you want in the end. So just want to talk about what we personally do for pre-production here. So in terms of planning content, we usually brainstorm concepts, and we get a lot of people in a room, and it's not just the creative team, as I was saying before. It's the creative team, it's the head of the campaign, it's marketing, it's talent, it's interns, and we just give each other probably about 15 minutes of brainstorming time where all of us sit in silence. We come up with content ideas that can be used across photo design, video, social, ideas for a stunt you would want to pull, or what kind of press outlets we want to get picked up in, and how we can do that. So we all sit in silence, write on Post-it notes, and then we individually present these ideas, in front of the room. And then after everyone has presented their ideas, then we start to bucket and categorize these ideas because, a lot of them are very similar. So we try to find what that through line is in the ideas. And then my team will take all the concepts, narrow them down, and pitch them to either the sponsor, the CEO, or the campaign lead. And then we get approval on a concept to greenlight. And then we go into storyboarding and scripting and create a deliverable timeline. So this covers the whole gamut of pre-production, production, and post. So basically, we create these timelines, one, to keep ourselves accountable, and two, to show the sponsors and when they can expect each deliverable that we're giving them. And then in terms of actual logistic pre-production, we block talent, and sometimes that's done through our talent guy who's blocking an influencer, or sometimes we just need to do a casting call for local talent, which I highly recommend Backstage.com. We found so many great people. I know it's New York City, so it might be a little bit different for those of you who aren't in a highly populated metro area, but there's still ways to cast people within your local community. And sometimes it's your staff members, and sometimes it's your interns. We get really resourceful around here. And then the next step is securing gear. So we always like to have at least 2 to 3 rental houses on call, just in case we need, something special, just in case one rental house doesn't have a piece of gear that we need. We can go to another one. And then we secure a location or a studio. Sometimes that requires permits or oftentimes insurance. And then I always have a network of crew that is available. And I think what's really interesting is I can reach out to, a camera operator. And if he's not available for the shoot date, he will send me 6 other camera operators. So it's a very tight network, and people are always willing to help. So next we have the production aspect of it. We always talk about, filming a content package versus just one singular piece of content. Because if you've spent all this money getting people in one location at one time, you spent all this money on gear, you should be getting the most out of your time and money, and that's not just one piece of content. So this can be scripted content, so the main reason why you were there filming your video. And then we also like to stack on top of that interviews. That can be with your main person you're working with. It can be with staff members. It can be recipients of a donation, or someone that needs your help. And then we love to get those bite-sized videos for social. So maybe the scripted content is that long form, 4 to 7 minutes, but then the bite-sized video can be a teaser for that long form. It can be facts broken down. It can be a wide variety of things. So making sure you're creating content for multiple different platforms. And like I said earlier, that looks different for each. And then we also make sure we get photos of our talent and also some behind-the-scenes photos, because sometimes we've seen press outlets really enjoy the behind-the-scenes look because it feels like a unique thing for them to publish. And then we have post-production. And this is where we edit down according to script. And I see that, Jessica, you're asking about editing software that we recommend. We use Adobe Premiere, but I know there are a lot of free resources out there, and I would highly recommend if you emailed me after this, because right now I can't answer specifically, but I know that, if you have an iPhone, the new iOS allows you to edit together video very flawlessly. So it's really interesting the way technology has evolved in the past few years, and especially, what's in our pocket, and that's our phone. Then we go into title screens. So is there any graphic design that needs to be done, intro slides, outro slides that we need to get created? Sometimes there's motion graphics, and then there's audio mixing, making sure all the audio levels are stable, and your left channel and your right channel are all working in unison with your video. And there's color correction, making sure it's not too hot, not too cold. Whites don't look orange or blue. And then what's really important is getting approvals from all of your stakeholders, and really identifying those stakeholders from the beginning. So sometimes it's just me, the creative director. Sometimes it's me, campaign lead, biz dev lead, the CEO, the sponsor, the talent. So really identifying who those stakeholders are from the very beginning so that you don't miss someone, and that can be like a critical step in the process that, if messed up, can push you and your timeline far back. So you want to avoid any of that. And then also creating different versions. So this can be just creating different file types, because different broadcasters or different partners take different formats, or it can be creating different versions like we do we created a 30-second spot and then an online version, which is typically about a minute long for all of our videos. And why we do the 30-second is because we get some donated media, which requires it to be specifically 30 seconds. So just make sure if you have any of that, any of those restrictions to know beforehand so you can plan accordingly. And then I just wanted to go into 3 different case studies. And after you watch these videos, feel free to ask questions, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability.
And I'm sorry to cut in really quickly because we have about 4 minutes left, so I don't know if we'll have time to watch all of these videos, but we can include links in our follow-up email for those. So if you want to show that's okay. If we want to show this one, but then I do want to turn it over to Louis so he can talk a little bit about the Storymakers campaign. So how about we do that?
Okay, I'll actually do this second one, if that's okay. So here's an example of the 3-second one we were talking about, and also kind of setting a tone and then completely ripping the rug from out from under a viewer. So this is for one of our campaigns we did last year.
Mark?
Ah, yes. Yeah, my friends and I, we chill and grill. There's like a panini. Oh, okay. Fire hazard. Oh.
Great. I make popcorn in my microwave. I heat up takeout in my microwave.
For the microwave?
Yes. So, allergens.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. Like poop?
Some dogs are cleaner than people.
Ooh.
Oh.
Set the mood, yeah.
And, oh, okay. Cool.
Okay.
So people are allowed to have guns, like, at cafeterias and things?
Can someone take this?
I don't care if it's concealed. You still have a gun on you.
They have the power to take someone's life away.
There's no need for anyone to have this.
These are the only guns I want on my campus.
Guns in the hands of college students don't make campuses any safer. Demand your college president takes a stand against guns at your school.
Guns out. Guns out.
Guns out.
Guns. Gun show. You want to take it to the good?
Guns out.
Okay, so that is a campaign we did called Guns Out, and it's about getting concealed carry banned on college campuses. And I know, Louis, that you would love to talk about the storytelling experience. So take it away.
Great. Thanks, Carrie. And that was a great video. Yeah, so I just wanted to, I'm going to chat out a link for everyone. And Carrie, we'd love if Do Something could join us. We have our 3rd annual Round the World Twitter chat. That is, for people who don't know about TechSoup, we're a global network. So we have partners around the world, and we have a chat occurring with our Latin American partners. We have 2 hours occurring in Africa, and then we have one with our American partners. And it would be great if people on the call here, if you want to hop onto our Twitter chat at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be on how to do successful campaigns. We're going to be looking at the campaign working to close the digital divide and examining how storytelling has been used there. For people who want to get up a little earlier, we're going to be having another hour conversation on finding light in the darkness, storytelling in the refugee crisis. That's going to be with our partners in Greece who are on the front lines of creating stories around the refugee crisis. And of course, I want to encourage everyone to submit a photo or a video to the Storymaker campaign. Carrie was talking a lot about Instagram, and for the first time, we have, with our contest, we have integration with the Instagram API. So if you create your video in Instagram, you just need to fill in the entry form, but you don't need to put the link in. The API pulls it directly. So we hope we see all of your submissions. We want to use this as a resource to inspire nonprofits. So you're not doing it just to win the $10,000 in prizes, but to show the power of storytelling for the nonprofit sector. So thanks, Susan, and thanks, Carrie, and hope to see everyone's submissions to Storymakers 2017.
Thanks so much, Louis. This was a really powerful presentation, Carrie. I wish we had another hour because there's so many things we could cover. I wanted to just apologize that we didn't get to the rest of the videos. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. And I also do want to thank Carrie for her diligence and her time. She spent a lot of time crafting this presentation. She also spent a lot of time putting it together and getting it to me so we could embed it in this presentation. I will be sure to work with her to get links to those videos to share with you. Very quickly now, before you jump off, please do chat in. We want to know what you learned today, something you're going to try to implement. Also letting you know about the third event in our Storymakers webinar series. There's three, one for pre, one for production, and one for post. So on 10/12, October 12th, there'll be actually a very good webinar from a digital media specialist talking about the tools to edit your digital story and then how to market it, how to get it out there. We do have a free course on our tech training courses online about storytelling, digital storytelling in particular. There were lots and lots of people who asked questions about products and recommendations. There's lots of, it's a free course, so you can go in and download lots of assets that you can use in your video production. So lastly, I just want to thank Louis on the back end for helping with chat. We want to have a huge round of applause for Carrie. Thank you so much, Carrie, and thank you for sharing all the DoSomething.org's resources. I also want to thank all of our learners that came today. We know time is your most valuable resource, and we do recognize that you have a choice, so thanks for joining us today. Thanks to our webinar sponsor as well, ReadyTalk, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their week and a lovely weekend. Bye-bye. Hope to see you on October 12th, our next webinar.